The term Viking evokes images of fierce warriors with horned helmets, pillaging and plundering across Europe. Yet this infamous reputation barely scratches the surface of this multifaceted culture. Were the Vikings merely bloodthirsty raiders, or were there deeper aspects to their lifestyle? If you're eager to uncover the hidden truths behind their enduring legacy, stay tuned until the end. We've got a lot to cover. Let's begin with what everyone already knows. The Viking Age is a period of history spanning roughly from the late 8th to the 11th century, marked by the expansion and activities of Scandinavian seafarers known as Vikings. The word Viking itself comes from the Old Norse word Vikingar, which initially referred to a seafaring warrior. It wasn't a tribal or ethnic identifier, but rather a term for anyone who went on a Viking, meaning a sea voyage, particularly one involving raiding or exploration. The Viking Age isn't a universally accepted historical period, but most scholars agree it began around the late 8th century with the first recorded Viking raid on the monastery of Lindisfarne in England in the year 793 AD. This event marked the beginning of a new era, one characterized by Scandinavian seafarers venturing further afield, initiating a wave of raids along the coasts of Western Europe. Their choice of targets was often monasteries, not due to any particular animosity towards monks, but simply because they were wealthy, isolated, and defenseless. The wealth amassed by religious institutions in those days was staggering. Monasteries were often the richest buildings in a town, and while monks devoted their lives to prayer, they lacked the means to protect themselves. However, this changed as the centuries passed. By the 9th century, as Viking raids intensified, coastal communities across Europe took notice. Towns fortified themselves, forming organized militias to repel these seaborne attacks. This evolution forced the Vikings to adapt, shifting their tactics from surprise assaults on undefended monasteries to strategic attacks on towns and cities. Though initially driven by the allure of riches, the Vikings' motives soon expanded to include territorial control and political influence. Now let's explore a bit of what everybody already knows about the Vikings. But first, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. The Viking longships. Viking longships were marvels of design, perfectly suited for the frigid waters that cradled their homeland. These ships weren't just instruments of warfare, but masterpieces of navigation, allowing the Vikings to conquer vast stretches of sea with unparalleled agility. Their defining feature was the dragon-head figurehead, an emblem of power that inspired awe and terror in equal measure among their adversaries. The construction of the longships was a testament to the Vikings' mastery of shipbuilding. The sturdy oak planks were fastened together with iron rivets, creating a vessel that could withstand the harshest of seas. But the true magic lay in their versatility. Thanks to a unique construction technique, the Vikings could adjust their ship's drafts, enabling them to navigate both the choppy waves of the ocean and the shallow inland waterways. This adaptability proved pivotal during raids, allowing the longships to silently sneak up on unsuspecting coastal settlements or swiftly flee when necessary. Viking raids. Viking raids were meticulously planned operations driven by a combination of necessity and greed. Unlike the popular perception of Vikings as unhinged marauders, their raids were strategic endeavors aimed at acquiring valuable resources that were scarce in their homeland. The primary targets were monasteries and coastal towns, chosen for their relative vulnerability or immense wealth. For instance, the riches accumulated by monasteries made them prime targets. Meanwhile, coastal towns often boasted both commercial value and weaker defenses compared to well-fortified cities. Raiding wasn't just about pillaging, though. It was also a means of economic sustenance for these Scandinavian seafarers. The raids were conducted during the summer months when the seas were calm, ensuring a safe journey to and from their destinations. The spoils of war, primarily livestock, food, and valuables like jewelry and silver, were then traded for goods that were more difficult to obtain back home. Notably, the Vikings preferred capturing live captives for trade rather than killing their enemies, showcasing a pragmatic side to these feared warriors. Viking exploration and settlement. Viking exploration was a daring venture driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to secure new territories and trade routes. Their expeditions ventured as far as North America, nearly half a millennium before Christopher Columbus, and into the heart of Asia, through Russia's extensive river network. Notable figures like Rurik and his Varangian band played key roles in establishing trading posts and even ruling over territories. The establishment of settlements like Dublin, Normandy, and even colonies in Greenland and North America marked significant chapters in Viking history. These settlements weren't just temporary outposts, but thriving communities that lasted for decades. For example, the Vinland settlement in Newfoundland, Canada, though short-lived, stands as testament to Viking adaptability and resourcefulness. Similarly, the Duchy of Normandy in France emerged as a cultural melting pot, blending Scandinavian and French influences. And finally, the Viking economy. The Viking economy was a dynamic blend of resourcefulness and adaptation. It was largely a subsistence economy with agriculture as its backbone, supplemented by crafts like metalworking, woodworking, and fishing. Trade played a pivotal role, connecting the Vikings to wider European and even transcontinental networks. Their strategic location between the Baltic and North Seas facilitated trade in furs, timber, and fish. The introduction of coinage, initially through trade with the Byzantines, marked a significant shift, replacing the earlier barter system. The Vikings' proficiency in seafaring allowed them to establish a strong merchant marine, facilitating the exchange of goods across vast distances. So now you know a little bit about the Vikings, what they were all about, and how they impacted history. Now let's take a closer look at some of the lesser-known facts about these fascinating people. The origins of the term Viking. The term Viking might seem like an ancient word, but it actually made its first appearance in the English language in the 17th century. Before that, the people we today call Vikings were known by names such as Northmen, Norsemen, and Scandinavians. The word Viking has its roots in the Old Norse word Vikingur, which referred to a seafaring warrior. This term evolved from an older word, vikinga, which carried the definition of incursions. Thus, Viking initially described an action or an incursion rather than the doers of the action. The reason for the widespread use of the term Viking can be traced back to Denmark. In the 16th century, Danish historian and archaeologist Johannes Muir made significant contributions to the study of Norse history. He introduced the term Vikinga tid, Viking Age, to denote the period between the 8th and 11th centuries when Scandinavian seafarers were prominent. Muir's work played a crucial role in shaping our understanding of this historical era. Viking family structure. The traditional image of Vikings as marauding hordes overlooks the significance of family ties in their society. The strength of family bonds was deeply ingrained in Viking culture. Marriages between close relatives were common, fostering a sense of unity and ensuring that wealth and status remained within the family. While polygamy existed, it was more prevalent among the elite, serving as a means of forging alliances with other powerful families. The arrival of Christianity gradually influenced attitudes towards family, encouraging monogamous marriages and altering inheritance practices. However, the core importance of family endured, playing a pivotal role in shaping Viking identity and behavior. Did Vikings wear helmets with horns? The iconic image of Vikings wearing horned helmets is a romanticized portrayal that emerged in the 19th century. This misconception likely stemmed from a misinterpretation of a single line in an 1827 Danish ballad, which described a helmet adorned with a bearskin cap. Further popularized by 19th century operas and artwork, this romanticized image has persisted in popular culture despite having no basis in historical fact. Archaeological evidence from Viking burial sites has yielded numerous horned ceremonial headdresses, but these were primarily used in rituals and celebrations rather than warfare. The lack of evidence for horned helmets in battles suggests that this feature was largely a product of artistic license and popular imagination rather than historical accuracy. To learn more about the Vikings, check out the series in the description below. Until next time.